Welcome to the Self Care Sanctuary. I am your host, Sharron Terry, therapist and your guide to emotional healing and wellness. I'm so excited to have back with us our special guest, Chenelle DeLoatch, who is the author of I Am Safe with Me, Living Through Childhood Trauma. Today's episode is called Family or Frenemies. And again, Chanel, welcome. I'm so excited to have you back so that we can talk about this awesome book. Um, and I love it because it's it's not real thick,
No.
but there's no fluff. It's straight to the point, right?
Yeah.
It just gets right into it.
Mhm.
And for a woman of my particular age, I need that. Attention span ain't
Right.
long as it used to
Yes.
be.
Yes.
But but aside from that, it is so awesome. And another thing about it is it's very conversational.
Mm.
I felt like you were even I'm reading it and I felt like you were really like we were just having a talk. Like we were talking, on the phone and you just telling me, what happened and your experiences with your family and other dynamics,
Mhm.
right? So you are coming back second time. This is our follow up. As I mentioned, the first time I mentioned that you're an entrepreneur. You're the author of I Am Safe with Me. Um, we had so much positive feedback from when you were here the first time. And, we have that saying, it's like, if I can just reach one,
Mhm.
right? And then it was so healing for so many people. So I just thank you for that, as I knew it would be. Is
Mhm.
there anything that we may not know or that we left out the first time you were on that you would like to share just about yourself in general?
Let me think. But first of all, thank you for having me back.
No
I really
worries.
appreciate it, and I feel like the conversations that we have, they are needed. And there are so many people that don't have a voice.
Right.
Um, and the way that I wrote my book, I wanted it to sound like me. I didn't want it to be all of this extra stuff that people know, like she didn't write that. No, I needed people to understand this came straight from me, straight from my heart and the things that I've gone through. Um, I wrote it, I edited it, I published it all myself.
Kudos
Um,
to you.
yeah,
Amazing
because like I
job.
said, I wanted it was just that personal for me. So yeah, I don't think we actually missed a whole lot. The last time about myself. But only thing is I'm an author.
Yes. But I like the idea that we didn't cover that before, as you
Mhm.
mentioned that this is all you. You did
Mhm.
the editing. We didn't talk about that part of it because it hadn't been released, but all of it was a labor of love from you, by you.
Yes,
Something, so
yes,
this is like your baby, right?
yes,
An
yes.
extension of you.
Hmm.
So, again, kudos to you for that as
Thank you,
well.
thank
So let's just talk about family or frenemies. We all
you.
got
Yes, we do.
them. And so have you ever left a family gathering feeling like horrible after you left? When the relationships just become taxing, or that person that you're around who you're supposed to love, that person you're supposed to feel like, oh my gosh, this is my family, but instead when you leave them you're drained, or you have that person that calls you, and every time they call you it's always some drama, right?
Yeah.
They are well, the starters.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it PG.
Right.
They always
All
messing
the
some
time.
stuff up.
Right. Honestly, all the time. Honestly, all my life I've hated going to family functions because, and I talk about it in my book, that I've always felt out of place. I never felt like I belonged, whether it was on my biological mom's side or my dad's side. It was
Mm,
always like I felt like I was just there, almost invisible. So I kind of hated going to family functions, and that is why one of the reasons why, as I got older, I stopped going. I stopped
yeah.
showing up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're calling this episode Family or Frenemies because sometimes the hardest relationships to navigate are the ones that we're told should be unconditional, right?
Hmm.
So today we're really going to talk about how to spot those dynamics, why they
Yeah.
form, how to protect your peace with
Right.
self-care strategies tailored, where however it's just for you.
Hmm.
And you go into detail into the book about how you have been able to navigate some of these situations, right? I've had to navigate them as
Right.
well. I
Right.
mean, you don't get to 57 or your age to not have any issues with your family.
Right. Right.
I've had several.
Hmm.
So let's just talk about what is a frenemy, right? Now, we've used the word frenemy when it comes to friends that feel like,
Hmm.
they like your friend, but then they sometimes feel like an enemy at the same time. Well,
Right.
we
Right.
have family frenemies. And that may be the cousin who constantly is in competition with you. Maybe it's the sibling who publicly um, supports you, but in private, they mock you. Or maybe it's that parent whose advice always make you feel small.
Hmm.
The relationships are really rooted in mixed messages, right? So it's
Hmm.
the love laced with control, laced with kindness, but
Absolutely.
criticism. So it's like that nasty, nasty thing that they get
Yeah.
going on. And sometimes a mother who treats her adult daughter as competition, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes you may have a sibling rivalry that started in childhood but never evolved. And
Hmm.
then there's the father who may praise success but never shows emotional support. And some of these are because of the roles that we play in our family. We generational trauma and unhealthy patterns, that have been just passed down, emotional immaturity.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes you have families that are just so enmeshed into each other. Everybody isn't always in everybody's business, and just there's no such thing as
Right.
you know, uh, confidence,
Hmm.
confidentiality. I meant to say
Right.
because
Right.
somebody's going to tell the other person and the other person, and then the next thing you know, you walk in a family function. Everybody is looking at you. Everybody knows.
Like
Everybody
right.
knows what's going on, but ain't nobody saying nothing.
Hmm.
And this is how, family secrets and stuff like that form. But I just want our listeners to understand that these dynamics really are rarely about you. They often are inherited behaviors, like we said, responses to people's own wounds that have been passed down like emotional heirlooms, right? Understanding that they can bring clarity even if it doesn't bring closeness.
Hmm.
So I know that you mentioned, how you get these calls, but what has it been like for you with your situations with family, frenemies? What's that been like for you?
At times, lonely. Um, Let me just say, both of my biological parents are still alive.
Okay.
But like with my biological mom, it was almost like when I was younger, they would try to force a relationship with her. It is what it is. I never cared for her. Um, it was never a secret. I never hid it because it was just so irritating. Her presence to me sometimes was just so irritating because of just how nasty she was. And it was like she was just nasty for absolutely no reason. Well, I'll say she probably had a reason, but
Right.
I was your child. So what had I done to you? It wasn't like you was raising me. So why was it necessary for you to just be nasty to me? And so it was just always, almost, they always try to, well, certain members of my family would always try to make me or force a relationship with her. How can you force someone to have a relationship with a child that they didn't want?
That
A
part.
child that, whether she said it out her mouth or not, she didn't want me. And God knew she didn't need any more kids because she didn't have any more after me. So it's like, you didn't have to verbally tell me that you didn't like me.
Mhm.
And I had aunts that treated me bad because they didn't like her. But that wasn't my fault.
Right.
As a child, I'm getting the blunt of all of this stuff of the relationship that she's had with them and the combative, things that went on with her and her siblings. It trickled down to me.
Right.
But it
Right.
wasn't I'm a child. That it wasn't my fault.
Right.
So just imagine, you sitting there, all these people in the room, and everybody's trying to make you talk to this woman that you really don't know because you really don't have a relationship with her. And that was just my life. So it's like a lot of times in family functions, I would just sit off in a corner somewhere by myself.
Yeah.
No one was really talking to me anyway, so it was just lonely.
Yeah.
And as I got older, it felt the same way. And so as I got older and I had my children, some of those things happened to my children as well. And so it's like I made the decision. I'm not gonna put my kids through what I went through. I spoke up for them a couple of times. Don't talk to my kids that way. Like, don't do that. My kids got left out of things. Like you
Uh-huh.
got all these kids here, and these kids are getting popsicles, and these kids are getting this, and then my children are sitting over there like, okay, so you didn't get enough of my kids? Like, what are we doing? And
Right.
so I refuse to continue putting my children, especially just seeing my kids' faces, and then
Mm-hmm.
the conversation that we will have after we will leave functions. I'm like, I'm not doing this to my kids anymore. I'm just not. And so I moved away and I stopped going. Even when I used to stay in the same city with everybody, I stopped going. Why am I going? I already feel bad as it is. Why am I going to add insult to injury? Like, why would I do that and then put my children through that? So it has been very lonely.
Yeah. It may be lonely and it gets lonely. I definitely know how that is, but as you have decided, it's
Mm-hmm.
better for me to be lonely than to be mistreated or,
That
you
part.
know,
Yes.
being manipulated emotionally. These
Mm-hmm.
are when family members become a source of stress instead of a source of love. Our family is supposed to be nurturing, loving, and not only
No.
that, this is the first set of people that we learn how to deal with society, right? We learn
Yes.
these are our first interactions with other people. So if a relationship is not right with your mama, if it's not right with your daddy, if it's not right with, the people that are in your immediate circle in that household, growing up with cousins and things like that,
Mhm.
then it's going to shape how you um, interact with everyone else. It's like
Right.
the foundation of your emotions, whether you're going to feel strong or even the stories that we begin to tell ourselves,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they are shaped. So, you know, these sources of stress start looking like you were saying, your other family members try to guilt you into talking to someone who had no interest in nurturing you.
At all.
Um, at all. And based even from what I've read in the book, which we're going to have you read a excerpt after this, but just I just want to let the listeners know that that chronic invalidation of your feelings, like what you had, and them ignoring the fact, like, hey, she don't want me. Why are you trying to force me to be in relationship with someone who doesn't want me? Or not respecting your boundaries or your privacy. And then, like you said, that the way that it affects our mental health, with
Hmm.
then we start becoming anxious. We start becoming, developing, and a lot of anxiety, but not just anxiety, but that sense of not being able to trust ourselves. We have a lot of self-doubt, like, am I wrong? Or maybe I don't know how to make decisions for myself. I remember when I was young, I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but I did not start calling my father daddy until I was 14.
Mm,
And my stepmom and my aunts, they used to try to force me to call him daddy.
mm.
And I was a little stubborn thing. So I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not
Right.
going to call him daddy.
Hmm.
And God rest his soul. But I just felt like he doesn't get to call, I don't have to call him daddy, because at that point, in my mind, as a young child, he hadn't deserved that title yet,
Right. Right.
right?
Hmm.
So I was like, I'm not going to call him that. And it was funny because if I needed to get his attention, I would have to, it was tricky because I would have to go make sure I was face to face with him, because
Hmm.
I knew I couldn't call him by his first name.
Right. Right. Disrespectful. So
Right.
yeah.
Because, like you said, that would have been disrespectful. So I
Hmm.
couldn't call him that. Um, and I didn't want to call him daddy either.
Right. Right.
So, my bonus dad, I used to call him Pop,
Mm. Okay.
or I would call him, he was in the military, so I used to be able to call him Mr. Carter, right?
Gotcha.
And I adored him. I really
Hmm.
did. But he didn't
Hmm.
come into our lives till I was about 12.
Okay.
So, but at the time, my dad, the way that I started calling him daddy, it wasn't because I felt like he deserved it at that point. I was at his house one time. He was down outside washing his car, and I was up. The phone rang for him,
Mm.
and I was standing at the door, and he was like, it was kind of like a hill where he
Okay.
was down the hill, and I was
Uh-huh.
at the phone, and I was like, oh crap, it's it's for him. And I was like, well, I can't say, call him by his name, and I'm like, ooh, um, daddy.
Oh God.
It hurt me to say it,
Hmm.
because but I called him that out of the necessity in that moment,
Oh man. Hmm.
because I had the phone, I had this person on the phone. He was at a distance. So I needed to get his attention.
Right.
So I did what I had to do in that moment. And
Hmm.
I would say after that, it broke the ice for me. Like, okay, well, that didn't hurt too bad,
So bad. Yeah.
right? It wasn't so bad.
Right. Right.
Um, but also he he had started to really earn that title. Like, he started showing up. So it
Hmm.
became a lot easier for me to to call him that and mean it. And
Gotcha. Mhm.
fortunately, after he passed away, like within that same week, I was cleaning out my house. At the time, we were about to sell a house, and I came across a letter that he wrote me when I think I was maybe
Mm.
12.
Mm-hmm.
And in this letter, it was an apology.
Oh, wow.
And he was, acknowledging his part.
Right.
The fact that I know I haven't been everything that I need to be, but I'm going to work hard at becoming that. Because my dad had
Mm.
us, my parents were 17, 18 when I was born.
Right, right.
So
Mine was too.
so from his perspective, he was young, a young black man that they used to call Sly. So that gives you a hint.
Right,
But
right.
so he was, he wasn't a mature man
Hmm.
at 17, 18, trying to be the father of a daughter.
Right,
But
right.
we were able to mend and build because of him acknowledging it. And that's
Mhm.
part of it, right?
Yeah.
Is these family members, whether they're our mothers, fathers, whomever, there has to be an acknowledgement and,
Hmm.
as you said, an acceptance. You just got to the point where she is who she is. She don't want me. This I can't make it be something that is not if she doesn't even want to acknowledge it.
That.
So that was my experience with him, as and then so many other things going through. But I felt like that was the starting point for him, just the acknowledgement piece.
Hmm.
Had your mom ever acknowledged to you about, hey, this is, I'm sorry, or is there, I'm sure there's a passage in the book that you can read to us about that. Go ahead.
Girl, no. Um, and just in the moment with you talking and us talking about the whole respect thing, it made me think about. I feel like even though I've had the issues that I've had or I have with my daddy, I feel like I respect him more than I do her because I don't even call her mama no more. She's
Mm-hmm.
penny, but I
Yeah.
still call my daddy daddy.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I know I have daddy issues. I know I do. And and those things I'm still working through. But with her, I'm sorry. It's just I feel like it's just a lost cause when it comes to her. God, she's in a nursing home now, so it's like I just really don't have the energy. I tried to mend things with her. It didn't go so well. I told her I forgave her, and that was it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Me and my dad, we really haven't had conversations about, and I'm getting emotional. That goes to show, like, yeah, me and my dad, we never had a conversation of really of how I feel and how things have affected me when it
Mm-hmm.
came to our relationship and the lack thereof. And the passage that I'm going to read is about my daddy, because it was like just a little backstory. I was in an abusive relationship, and they did not know about it until I got ready to leave this man. Um, and even when they found out, it was the way that everything was handled is what really crushed me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of how my daddy, treated it. Because to me, if you go to your daddy and you tell your daddy some man beating you,
Yeah.
your daddy's supposed to be your protector.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't protect me simply because of what happened. And I'm about to read that, but it hurt me, it crushed me. And to this day, I'm still crushed about how things played out with that, because it's almost like I respect my dad more than I did my mom,
Mm-hmm.
because at least he did when he was around. I would go over there, whatever. Even though when I would go over there, I was more with my stepmom and my siblings, but still, it's like that was my daddy, and for the most part, he acted as if he was my dad. But her, it was never nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And people might say, I can't believe you're about to say that, but I don't want nothing to happen to her,
All right.
but I feel nothing. And I feel nothing because she didn't give me anything to feel.
Yeah. She was like an enemy.
She didn't, yeah, yeah, she really was. She treated me like she treated everybody else nasty. She
Hmm.
talked to me hard like she talked to everybody else. She talked to everybody hard. She talked to me hard. It was nothing. Like it was nothing. Literally
Hmm.
nothing. And it's like you tried to, because it was, I'll say this in my book, I speak about molestation. Her husband was one of the people that molested me. And she took his side over mine, told me I was lying.
So
Like it
again,
was
not the
true.
validation.
Mhm. Yeah. So she was always nasty to me, mean to me. So it's like I don't have anything for her because she didn't give me anything. She didn't give me nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing. And
And I
I
don't want
don't
to give
know.
the book away,
Go ahead.
but even when you told her,
Mhm.
she not only invalidated your feelings and your
Yes.
experiences, but she
Mhm.
also kept putting you in harm's way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I kind of don't necessarily speak about this part, but imagine as you're going through your healing process and you're thinking about the things, and I'm writing this book and I'm bringing up certain issues. Imagine feeling like your mom groomed you for that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. The things that happen, the way things happen, the things that I was forced to do as a child.
Yeah.
When I sat back and I thought about it and I kept replaying these things over in my head, I'm saying to myself, like, dang, did she groom me for this?
Right.
Was she preparing me for this man to do this stuff to me?
Hmm.
Because there are just certain things that you should not have your child do,
Right.
especially with a man that is not even her dad.
Hmm.
And I know me, knowing who I am, I've always been my face has always, if my mouth didn't tell it, my face did. And I
Right.
know because, and I've said the words no. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But I was forced to do certain things. So it's almost in my head like you knew this was gonna happen, or you knew this was happening because you groomed me for it. And that's just how I felt.
Hmm.
She and I will never have this conversation again. She could, at this point, she'll never understand where I'm coming from. It'll never be a case of Chenelle, I'm sorry. It'll never be a case of Chenelle, I take responsibility for all of it. It'll never be that. So, like again, for me, I feel nothing. That is a lost cause. I will never try to do it again. Um, none of that. None of it. And some years ago, she was sick and she was in the hospital, and she had all these tubes, and it was almost like she was trying to say something to me, but I'm like, girl, just get better. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I felt. And people want to say, but that's your mom. You can say that. Yeah, in word only. You cannot tell me how to feel about a person that has treated me bad all my life, regardless if she brought me into this world or not, because that's all she did. And I told her, thank you for bringing me to this world.
Hmm.
Anything else, you did nothing.
Hmm. But
She,
torture you in a lot of ways.
yep, brought me. You constantly brought, even when it came out of what he was doing to me. I'm still being forced to go to your house.
Yeah.
I'm being forced to be around this man.
Hmm.
And he was disgusting.
Hmm. Hmm.
Absolutely disgusting. The thing, he was disgusting. But yet you still made me, and I know it was part of what was going on between him and her, where she was probably being forced. I don't know what all, but I knew she was in an abusive relationship. I knew he was very, nasty and hard to her or whatever, but that's who she was with. So I could just only imagine what conversations was going on between them two. But yeah, I was forced to be around this man even after I told everybody what had happened,
Yeah.
and nothing happened to him. Nothing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So
And that's hard. And that's why a lot of young people don't share. or
Hmm.
tell, but and I'm just going to say this now to all of our listeners that you have a voice.
Hmm.
The little
Absolutely.
girl in you deserves to speak, or the little boy in you deserves to speak your truth.
Yes.
You were there. You know what happened.
Yep.
And no one can rewrite your story.
Yep.
You have the
Your
right
pain is
to say,
real. Your pain
yes,
is real. Even if it's ignored, your pain is real.
yes, for sure.
Real.
So go ahead and read us the excerpt that you mentioned.
All right. And so like I said, the whole background was I was in an abusive relationship, and I was trying to leave.
Okay.
So I'll just start at the middle. I ended up at my parents' house, finally explaining what had been happening. My daddy came home and took me back to my house to grab my things. While we were there, Bo tried to flip the script, telling my daddy that I was nasty and had been talking to a woman, and that's why he beat me. You would think my daddy would have gone off on Bo, defended me, or at least confronted him with some real energy. But nope, all he said, as calm as could be, was, Bo, you can't be hitting my daughter. That was it. He rubbed his head, glanced at me, then lowered his head. In that moment, it became clear my sexuality mattered more to him than the fact that this man had been abusing me for years. The hurt I felt was unimaginable. So, even after everything, my parents still allowed Bo to come around. He'd show up at barbecues and was even invited to their vow renewal ceremony. Imagine having to face your abuser in a setting like that as if nothing ever happened. He smiled at me, smug, like he won. At one point, he even passed me and whispered, I told you they love me more than you. It was
Wow.
clear. He was there just to pour salt into an open wound. Let's back up a little bit. I was initially told that my partner wasn't welcome, but I made it clear. If she's not there, neither will me and my kids. But oh boy had an open invitation.
An open invitation.
Mm-hmm. He was still allowed to anything they had. If he passed by their house, something was going on and they saw him, come on over.
Mm-hmm.
Come on over.
Yeah.
But yet, me, no, no, I was treated like I was an outsider, like I was just nobody at the time. And I just feel like at the time my daddy didn't take up for me, regardless of what my sexuality is, regardless of what was happening. No, you chose this man over your child that have told you how he's drugged me up and down every hallway there was to drag me on, how he's hit me, how he almost hit my daughter got in between us one time, and he almost hit her. And that was that wake up call for me. But still, even after I told y'all all of this, it didn't matter.
Hmm.
He chose him over me.
Yeah. And and it's so unfortunate, and it happens in so many situations, particularly when, they feel like, oh, they want to blame the victim of, well,
Mm-hmm.
she must have did something, or why because like you said, your sexuality had nothing to do with him
Mm-hmm.
abusing you. And so there was always this theme that I see throughout the book of you being for the people who are supposed to care for you and protect you the most, where we look for that from our parents first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
But and I read back on um I think you were actually describing how it was when you would go to your I'm sorry, your father's house, and you had your stepmom and your siblings and things like that, and how you wanted to be a part of it, about the family, and being included. And you wrote, you said, I remember trying to talk to them, trying to be included, asking questions, wanting to feel like I was a part of something, and they'd ignore me, just flat out act like I wasn't there. And when they did respond, it was cold, short, like I was bothering them just by existing. I wasn't seen, I wasn't nurtured, I was tolerated.
So that was basically my biological mama side of the family. They so that's what that was. It was because of her siblings. They didn't like her. Some of her siblings didn't like her, so of course it trickled down to me. And that's what I was saying earlier, where I just literally just sat in the corner like I got tired of trying to be included. My cousins that were my age, they were mean to me. Um, so it's like I just got to, and they used to be like, my mouth was so smart. Look at how y'all treat me. Yes, my mouth
Right,
is. Yes, I'm gonna pop off. Look at how y'all treat me. Like
right.
y'all act like I'm not even here. So of course I'm gonna be mean. Of course I'm gonna give you that energy back. Look at how y'all treat me. And honestly, there are a few cousins on my mom's side to this day that's just, ugh. Um, I don't even bother.
Yeah.
I don't even bother no more. I have my few people that I talk to, that I deal with. I will speak, I will be cordial, but trying to have those close relationships with, I don't do that anymore. No, I don't do it anymore. And like with my daddy's side of the family, when I was younger, there were family and people that used to come around that I probably never seen before, or they didn't even know who I was. They didn't even know my dad had another daughter. They thought only kids my dad had was the four that was under his roof. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Or it, maybe my little sister wasn't here at the time, and there was three people under the roof. Two of
Mm-hmm.
them which were not his biological kids. Only one was, and that was my little brother. So it was almost like they didn't even know that I existed. So when they said, "Oh, who is this?" or blah blah blah, he was like, "Oh, that's my daughter Chenelle." Like y'all don't. So this your family, and these people don't even know who I am. Don't even know that you have a older. Let's be clear. I'm your oldest child. I am the oldest grandchild on
Mm-hmm.
from your mom. I'm the oldest. Like I'm all the first on
Yeah,
that
I get
side of the
that.
family,
Mm-hmm.
but don't nobody know who I am.
Or feeling
Like,
like the outsider.
yes, because no, some people did not even know I didn't even know who I was, didn't even know I existed. And like I said, they probably gonna say I don't remember that happened. I remember it happened because it happened to me.
Exactly.
I remember those things. People didn't even know who I was coming
Mm-hmm.
around because it was always my siblings with him and my stepmom.
Right.
I was the weekend child. And maybe this particular weekend or this family get together, whatever, I wasn't there that weekend, whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like on both sides. It was like, where do I belong?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though you were
Where do
his
I belong?
first child.
Yes, yes, yep. First child, first niece, first on my dad's side from his mom. I
Mm-hmm.
was the first niece, I was his first child, and I was the first grandchild.
Yeah. Yeah, that resonates with me too. I was the first. I was my dad's oldest child,
Yeah,
and I remember going there, like you said, weekends or sporadically whenever he, I already said
right.
how the first few years were, but I remember talking to him about it and asking him like, what explain to him what my experience was and
Mm-hmm.
asking him, what were you thinking? He was like, in his mind, he was thinking that he was creating this, this environment for me to feel like that was my home as well. And no, sir, that's not how it was. That's not how it was. Okay. If I walk into your house and you got a family portrait and I'm not in it, help me make it make sense.
Yeah.
So it was like you said, you're telling a person what your experience was, but they were like, oh no, this is what, I created this. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
No one asked, right? Like with
Nope.
you, no one asked you, why are you feeling like, why are you acting this way? What's going on with you? And I want to take a moment just to have our listeners, we're reflecting and we're talking about what it looks like when family feels like enemies,
Mhm.
right? Um, or the betrayals that happen. So for our listeners, just take a moment if you can. Is there someone in your life whose presence leaves you feeling anxious, obligated, or small? And then what would you change in your life if you had permission, and you do, if
Yeah,
you had permission to protect your energy from them? What would you do?
absolutely.
What are you going to do? Right? You're not obligated, even though they make us feel obligated. Your first responsibility is you. Chanel, your responsibility before your children came was you. Even with them being here, is
Mhm.
you. My
Mhm.
responsibility is me. And part of that is about boundaries. You talk about boundaries and how you just decided.
I just wasn't doing it no more. I, for me, home. I didn't know. I didn't feel home until I made my own home.
Yes, your own
That's when I,
sanctuary.
yes, that's when I, that's when I was home.
Yeah.
Because I've never felt like I was home nowhere else.
Hmm.
I've never lived on the same roof as my parents. None of that. And so I made a decision. When I first did it, it may not have been the most healthiest way, but I knew I had to. I needed to break free from it. I need to get away from it. And I find if I do not want to go home, I'm not going. I don't care what events y'all having. I don't care. Why am I spending money, put myself through stuff that I know I'm going to be miserable? I'm gonna be miserable the whole entire time, and I don't want to fake it. I faked for so long, and the whole time I would be there, I would have this knot in my stomach, like, oh my god, I'll be
Hmm.
so glad when this is over. Like
Yes.
I'm so ready to go. And so there were a few years I did not go home. I did not go. I did not go to my daddy's house. If I did go home, I went to my aunt house, which is my favorite aunt. And I would go to her house. And there were times I would be at home, nobody even know I was there unless they passed by my aunt house and saw me. Otherwise, they did not know I was there because that was me protecting my peace and protecting my children. I didn't know what I was going to walk in that day. I didn't know how I was going to feel. So it's like sometimes I just did not go.
Yeah.
And me and my dad didn't speak one time for like 7 years
Wow.
because of my sexuality. Me and him did not talk for 7 years. It's almost like he disowned me. And anything that could go wrong, if something happened, I wasn't even around. It was my fault. It felt like it was my fault that certain things happened. How? How? I'm not bothering nobody. Like, how is it my fault? So, for me, I just stayed away. I missed my daddy because, growing up, I didn't get hugs like that. And so when I would go to my daddy house, even though it was that little one arm hug, I would get that one arm hug from my daddy. Well, when my daddy started talking to me, I wasn't getting those hugs no more. And nobody knows how much that affected me.
Right.
It's like my daddy don't hug me no more. So it's like it was very hurtful.
Hmm.
Um, and it was emotional for me. So instead of me being shunned and his back being turned to me or feeling like he just don't like he it's almost like he couldn't stand to look at me.
Hmm.
And that hurt. To this day, it still hurts. It hurts like it's like my dad did not want to look at me. And so instead of me going through that, I just stayed away.
Yeah.
I stayed away
Hmm.
because for me, I didn't want to continue adding more hurt onto myself. Um,
Yeah.
and that's what it would do. And so my home, I made my own home with me and my children. Um, Now I live in Minnesota. Minnesota is my home.
Yeah.
Um, I have peace here. If I don't want to be bothered with nobody, if I don't want to hang out or go somewhere, I don't have to go. I don't have to worry about going to no family events and stuff. You know, some people they get excited about family barbecues. I don't. For
Yeah.
what? Well, nobody excited to see me when I went home. Did
Mhm.
nobody act like they missed me when I would go home? So what am I going home for? You know,
Right.
my siblings got all that stuff.
Mhm.
My siblings got the trip to their home. The first time, I don't want to lie, but I think the first time my daddy came to my house was in 2022. After I
Mhm.
had bought my house and I had a house room, my dad had never been to my home. My dad had never been here to visit me,
Wow.
never. But they've gone out of country to see my siblings. They've traveled. They did all these things. I take that. Well, I'll say the first time my dad had been in my house since I've been in Minnesota was in 2021, 2022. Of course, when I lived down south or whatever, they came to my kids' graduations and whatever. But here, since I've been in Minnesota, the first time my daddy came to my house was I moved here in 2011. First time my daddy was in my house was 2022.
Wow. Wow. So, family, that's how you create your own sanctuary. That's why I called this whole podcast the self-care sanctuary,
Mm-hmm.
because we have to create that own space for ourselves, that sanctuary, that place where we can go to rejuvenate, to heal, to really practice self-love, to give ourselves what we need when no one else can or does. You practice that with boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
right? You had to create some boundaries. Um, I call it the, well, not me per se, but the four B's. This is how we can start practicing self-care, or strategies that we can use when we find ourselves in toxic family situations, right? Um, First of all, as I mentioned, the boundaries. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't say boundaries enough, because that's
Boundaries.
where it really, that's the game changer.
It is. It is. And I have to say, sometimes, like earlier on, before I began my healing journey, those boundaries were in a very unhealthy way because it was mean. I did it in a nasty, smart, sarcastic type of way. But now, where I am now, no means no, no thank you, I'm good. It's no more. I'm not coming to anybody. Nobody want to see me. I don't need to say all that. I don't need to say none of that extra stuff. No, I'm not coming. Thank you, but no thank you. Because now it's coming from a place of healing and
Yes.
me choosing my peace.
Mm-hmm.
Peace
Yes.
over pressure. You're
Yes.
not going to pressure me into anything anymore. My peace means more to me than anything else. And I have the power. I took my power back. I have the power and I have the right tools to be able to say no without adding all the extra stuff to it. Because technically, I don't have to give you a reason. I don't want to come. I said no. No is enough. And now those no's, those boundaries, I'm doing that in a more healthy way than I was before. Before it was nasty, it was mean because I thought nobody cared about me. No way. Nobody want to see me. That was the mentality that I had. Even though to a certain extent I still feel that way, I don't have to verbalize those things anymore. I can just tell you, no, I'm not going to make it. No, I'm not coming. And that's it. Those are my boundaries that I set for myself, for me. And I don't care who it is, my children, my family, it doesn't matter. My boundaries is my peace.
Yes. Like Mary Blige says, no more drama.
No
That's
more
what you're
drama in my
saying.
life.
No. You're saying no to
Yep.
drama, guilt
Yep.
trips,
Mm-hmm.
toxic relationships, things that
Yep.
make you feel bad. That's the first B for your
Mm-hmm.
strategy. Think about these, the
Boundaries.
four B's. Boundaries, boundaries. Then buffering, right?
Mm,
There's buffering where we it's emotional preparation
mm-hmm,
before and after an interaction.
mm.
Have a plan. Check in with a
Exactly.
friend. You need to
Yes.
have a lifeline,
Absolutely.
right? Set a time limit. Like these are
Yes.
so important. Drive separately to
Mm-hmm.
family events. So if you need to
Yes.
get up out of there, you don't have to
I'm out.
wait.
Nope.
You can have a plan of escape, have a
Yes.
plan of how you will respond. I,
Yes.
Lord Jesus, I had an aunt
Girl.
who every single time she saw me, she would have something negative to say about me. If it's not my
Woo.
weight, it could be anything. It was the look you up and down and then go in
Yes. Yes. Yes.
until I started flipping the script.
Listen.
How would you
Okay.
like it if I said that to you? Started saying you hurt my feelings,
Mm.
right? Um, but have a plan. So in my mind, I would be like, okay, I notice what she does every single time, not just to me. But again,
Right.
like you said, when it comes to our children, there's a lot of things that someone who has maternal or paternal instincts, they're gonna protect their children.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, you can say
Absolutely.
that to me, but what you won't do is do it to my children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna allow it.
No.
So have a plan in advance. I remember one one time I said, "Look, my son is coming in this, and or I know you want to see him, but I don't want you saying nothing about X, Y, and Z to him.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Don't do it."
Nope.
Well, I would. Yes, you would, because you
Yes,
do
you
it every time.
every time. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
what I started doing was calling people out on it. I used to
Mm-hmm.
just let it roll off my back or walk away. It really didn't roll off my back. I would
Mm-hmm.
walk away feeling bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm internalizing, oh my God, maybe I am, maybe that, no.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. So have
Mm-hmm.
a plan. If it means that you got to go in the bathroom for a few minutes, get yourself together. But remember, family, you can leave.
Leave.
When the second they start, I'm out. Where you going? Home
I'm out of here.
or wherever. You don't have to sit in it. You don't.
Have a plan. Nope.
Then the third B is belief work. Oh, we challenging internalized guilt and obligation. So being related, please hear me when I say this. Being related by blood doesn't mean you owe them your
Nothing.
peace.
Oh my God.
Let me just say it one more time. We got boundaries. We're going to buffer, have a plan. And
Hmm.
then your belief system. What are you telling yourself? Change it now. Being related by blood doesn't mean you owe them your peace.
At all. Or you owe them anything.
Anything. And I know
Any.
that sometimes, like we did the show on mother, the mother womb, we did a show about father hunger, the things that we've talked about today, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And even in those episodes, sometimes we feel like, oh, that's my mom. And true enough, it is. And I'm speaking of moms who they have their issues and they may be narcissistic and things like that, but you still they were there trying to do the best they could, but you still can't handle
Hmm.
them in large doses.
Right.
Un- Understand what you can handle. If it gives you more peace to check in on them, make sure they're okay, even if you limit the conversation to 15 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe some parents be like, okay, all right, mom, yep, bye, gotta go now. Just wanted to check and see how you're doing. You
Yep.
know, what the key is, what is it that you need to do that's going to give you the most peace and not damage your soul, your inner person? Because even if that person is your mother and every time you walk away from them, you are damaged, then you will have to do what we call in rehab. I mean, substance abuse and rehabilitation, all that. We call it lovingly detaching.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You are going to have to detach yourself like you do now, Chenelle. Just know you're not lashing out because you're not like that wounded puppy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're healed now. So you can do it in a loving way.
Yep.
And you can say no to people who supposed to be, I know they're your mom, they're your dad, or whatever. Yes, they are.
But
But so just
but
remember, whatever story you're telling yourself, like, oh, I'm a bad person if I'm not there for my mom while she's in the hospital. No, like you told your mom, just go ahead on and heal. Love you from
it'll bless,
afar.
it'll bless your life.
Yes.
It'll bless your life.
The
Yeah.
last thing is the breaks. Like we were saying with the detaching, sometimes space is necessary. You got
Mm.
to pull yourself out of a situation. How can you get clean in dirty water?
Space is mandatory.
It's mandatory. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get clean unless somebody come in and pour bleach in the whole thing.
Yep.
That doesn't happen. But in
At
order to
all.
get clean, somebody has to, or you got to get yourself out of the dirty water and then put yourself in some clean water. Then you might have to dunk
Yep.
yourself again in another bucket of clean water until that dirt is off of you.
Yep.
But you need that separation and that space to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you
Yep.
just got to step back just to see what the situation really is because you can't always tell when you're in it.
Yep. And they understand it is okay. It
It
is okay to do that. It is okay. It is okay. Like, and it's
is
like you have to
necessary.
understand, yeah, yeah. You do not have to stay there and carry that shame. You don't have to. You can walk away. You don't have to carry that shame. You don't have to be there and allow somebody to constantly put you down, shame you. You do not have to walk in that. And you don't have to
Exactly.
carry it. It's okay.
Absolutely. And temporary, if you have temporary or permanent distance, it
Hmm.
doesn't make you a bad person.
It
You're
doesn't.
not a bad person if you're taking care of yourself and if what you're doing is making you a healthy person. I always tell people, let your body be your guide and let you know whether somebody is healthy for you or not.
Because it's going to talk to you.
It's going to talk to you if you just got to
Hmm.
listen. If you
Yep. It's going
start,
to
like
talk to
you
you.
mentioned, the gut, the wrenching in your gut.
Oh, yep.
Me, it's like the tightening in my throat
Mm,
because that
okay.
means I'm really holding back.
Yes.
Or I start feeling like real, like my heartbeat, it starts
Anxious.
to race. Yeah, right.
Yep.
My body starts responding. And when I found that that was happening with certain family members, or when I see your number pop up on my phone and my heart starts racing and my palms getting sweaty and my throat is getting tight, oh no, I gotta let you go.
Yep, and the fact that I still feel those things sometimes with certain members of my family, preferably would be my dad and them. I just stay away. It's the quick, it's the quick hey, it's the quick text. If I got a call, my whole entire chest hurts. If they call me, my chest hurts because it's like things are not right with us. And I've held on to this stuff for so long. I just don't want to talk to y'all because trying to have a conversation with certain people on that side is like talking to a brick wall.
I can relate.
It's going to be made to seem as if everything that I feel is all about me. It's my just you. You ain't had peace with yourself. You gotta work with that stuff. No, what part of this is what y'all did to me? You're not hearing. This is what the things that y'all done to me that you will not address. Even when I tell you this is what happened, you push it away like I haven't said nothing. I'm sorry, you cannot be positive about everything. Some things you just got to face the truth that some of these things did happen and you have to address that. So if you cannot address what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm portraying to you, what happened to me, and how y'all made me feel, why am I going to have a conversation with you? Why am I going to tell you a book is about to come out and this is what's in the book? You're not going to get it. So I don't even put myself through that. I just
Right.
say, okay, hey, how you doing? Okay, love you too. That's the gist of the conversation. But trying to have, because I was asked, are you going to have a conversation with certain before the book come out? I said, yeah. But then I thought about it. What good is it going to do? We don't talk no way.
Right.
What good is it going to do? They're not going to accept that they failed me. They're not going to accept that.
Right.
So why put myself through additional pain
Mm-hmm.
with them saying, "Nah, that ain't what happened." Well, you got to deal with that. You okay? So what are you going to do for the things that you actually did to me? You know you did this to me.
Right.
Like, what are
There
you
has to
going
be
to do?
some acknowledgement and acceptance.
And it's none. So
Right.
why? So I refused to have those conversations, and I almost had one conversation. I'm like, I'm not doing this to myself. I'm in a good place. I'm proud of myself. My book is about to come out. This is something amazing for me. This
Yes.
is for my healing. I could care less what you think or how you feel because everything that I said was the truth. And can't nobody tell me how to feel about what happened to me and how I've dealt with it. You can't tell me
Exactly.
how to feel. You can't tell
Right.
me. So I did not have those conversations. And like I said, like my aunts, they've told me some things that, afterwards, especially around the whole molestation piece of it, that confirmed, I thought my daddy didn't know.
About the molestation, but
Yeah,
he
from
knew.
my biological
Stepdad.
mom's husband. Girl, I never called him that. That's that man. I never called him that.
The
He was
man.
that
Okay.
man.
We're gonna call him the
Uh,
man.
that man. I never called him that ever. But yeah, I thought he didn't know. But come to find out, there he knew. And on my mom's side, there were conversations that was had about the whole situation, and she refused to do anything about it. So again, I'm sorry, my parents failed me. They
Period.
failed me.
Bottom line.
Yeah, they failed me. And because you mean to tell me y'all, you knew my parents, y'all knew, and y'all didn't do nothing. Nothing happened to
So,
this. Nothing.
and I want to make sure I'm clear. Now, you found this is the latest, a recent development that you
Mm-hmm.
found out. Now, this is
All my life, I thought, because me and my daddy has never had the conversation. Never. We've never had a conversation. So all my life, I thought my daddy did not know,
when do
but
you think he found out?
he
Like
found out when it happened.
when you were little.
Hmm.
So now with this, and see, this to my listeners, the Self Care Sanctuary family, I want you to pay attention to how things develop, right? Not only do all of these things, because it's not just your family, Chenelle. This
Of course,
unfortunately is so
unfortunately, yes,
widespread that
yes.
so many people try to act like what's happening isn't happening, or they don't want to talk about it. Meanwhile, you have a predator in the family who is making his rounds. Okay. And the fact that your father knew and didn't do anything as an adult, finding this out, how have you processed that? Because you say he's still alive.
Yeah, I haven't had the conversation with him. If I wasn't where I am now, it probably would have devastated me. I
Yeah.
probably would have went into a whole entire depression
Mm,
about it. Like how. And now I'm just like, I'm still how, but not to the point where I'm stuck in the bed or
mm-hmm.
it's depressing me. I'm just like, really, dude? So now it's like I want to ask, so why didn't you do anything? You know? Why didn't you do something? You know? Why? Did you not care? Like, did you not believe me? Like, what? How could you
Yeah.
not do anything about this man that's walking around that has molested your child several times? This
Yeah.
wasn't no one event. This
Right.
was several times.
Mm-mm-mm.
It was several times. Just
Yeah.
inappropriate, like just straight inappropriate. And you didn't do nothing. Why?
Yeah.
Ask my
So many
dad.
questions.
Ask my daddy. Why?
Mm-hmm.
What was was you worried about what somebody was going to say? If you was concerned about what people was going to say, you should have did something about the fact that another man has molested your child.
Right.
But and like I said, when I say the adults in my life, I will say it again, not only my parents, but the adults in my life, they failed me because, of course, I speak about it in my book. He wasn't the only person that molested me. So it was like y'all just had me sitting out here just free game for people to just do whatever they wanted to me. Nobody cared.
Right.
Because if anybody cared, it wouldn't have happened as many times as it did.
Right.
Nobody paying attention
Exactly.
to me.
And that's what predators look for. People
Exactly.
who people
Don't care
are
nothing
left.
about.
Yes. So to our listeners,
Yep.
be sure that you, if even if you are that parent or that adult, think about how you're treating the children in your lives, your own child. When if your child comes to you and tell you something, even if you don't 100% believe it, you need
Look
to
into.
trust and verify.
Yep.
You need to confront it. Don't push it away. Don't tell them they're lying. Don't try to make them feel small.
Hmm.
If anything, you need to build a relationship to the point where you can let your children know no matter what it is, you can
Hmm.
come and tell me.
Yep.
People will lie to you, even if it means, because a lot of predators say, if you tell, this is going to happen to your mom, or this is going to happen to your dad, or, don't believe it. They're lies. Your parents can take care of themselves, right?
Mhm.
And that's the message that we have to send to our children. Chenelle, you, like so many other people and so many other listeners, have really suffered through a lot of things, but you have overcome so much.
Absolutely.
You are able to accept this truth about your dad now because you've done the four B's. You've done the work, right? You've done the boundaries. You've buffered. You've changed your belief system about yourself. You've taken these breaks and given yourself time and space to
Mhm.
heal. This is how you get to that place. I've had to do my own healing and taking the boundaries and the buffering and the changing some beliefs that I had about myself based on my relationship with my dad, or based on coming into contact with family members who all they do is criticize you. It
Mhm.
makes you doubt who you are if you don't do this work. Sometimes that work means journaling. You create beautiful journals.
Right.
um After a interaction,
Mhm.
journal about it. Check in, make a list. Okay, this is how I'm feeling after I came into contact with this person today.
Yep.
Another tool, we always talk about breathing. You got to breathe through these things because our whole bodies tense up we hold our
Yes.
breaths without even realizing that that's what we're doing when we have an interaction with these people. So we
Hmm.
hold it in our bodies, and then that makes us sick. So we got to release it. We got to walk. We got to do some tapping, or,
Yep. Yep.
whatever you need to do to release that energy.
Hmm.
But more importantly, we have to rewrite the narratives and
Yeah.
affirm what we say about ourselves and to ourselves. Like, everybody needs to say, or something like this, the affirmation. Even listeners, as you're driving along, listening, whatever you're doing, take a minute to just stop and say, hey, I am allowed to choose peace over
Hmm.
obligation.
Yep.
If I'm obligated to anyone, it's to myself.
Self.
I'm
Yep.
obligated. If you need to be obligated,
Hmm.
then your affirmation should be, or could be, I am obligated to
Yep.
preserve my peace.
Yep.
That's my
Absolutely.
obligation.
Absolutely. Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
you have your permission to let it go. You get to decide
Hmm.
the role that family plays in your life. And that
Yep.
may mean redefining relationships, lowering your expectations for the people who you know is going to just
Yep.
do them.
Hmm.
In some cases, like we said, stepping away completely.
Yep.
And guess what? That's not cold, that's being conscious.
That's very much so. And it's not just like with affirmations, like my shirt that I have on. It's I am safe, healing, loved, whole, seen, heard,
Yes,
worthy, amazing, protected, and enough.
that part.
Enough.
More than enough.
You are enough. Don't let nobody tell you that you're not, because you are. You have the power. Take your power back. And and I'm proud to be able to say that I'm a survivor, because there are some people that didn't could not survive what I've gone through. You know
For
what I'm
sure.
saying? They couldn't, they didn't have, they still don't have a voice. And but have that voice. You have the ability to take your power back. Don't
Yeah,
allow nobody to make, and me moving away, distancing myself has saved my life.
yeah,
It has saved my life. Even though at first it was in a very unhealthy way,
yeah,
because I was angry. I was mad. I was mad at everybody. Everybody.
yeah.
I would cuss you out. I didn't care. I didn't care. I had no, I had, my mouth was ruthless. But now I still have those same boundaries in place. But now for me, I had to do it for me. I had to do it in a more healthy way,
Yeah.
because the way that I was doing it, it was causing more harm to myself than anybody else. And so I want to be free. I want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want all that unnecessary tension in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm free, and I feel so much lighter than I
Yes.
ever have. That stuff is no longer in my shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, it's not weighing me down. It's no longer
Mhm.
heavy,
Right.
because I did the work for
Mm-hmm.
myself, to be better for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is additional.
Yeah.
But I had to write my book. I had to. My story had to be told. I
Mm-hmm.
had to tell it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it wasn't done. It was not done in a way to embarrass anybody. It wasn't done. Now, if I had wrote this book 5 years ago, it would have been on a revenge type thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what this is. This is me putting my story out there, letting people know you are not what people said you are, and you can heal from this stuff. You can live a very successful life with everything that has gone on in your life, everything that has happened to you. You can live a very successful, peaceful, and fruitful life. Your story, you cannot rewrite your story, but your chapters can end in a different way.
Uh, yes, indeed. I love that. And healing doesn't always mean reconciling. like you
Absolutely
said,
not. Because
it
there are some
means
people I don't care. I don't if I don't talk to them ever again. And that's just being real. I ain't got to ever talk to you again. And guess what? I'm okay.
because you're safe with you.
That part.
Yeah, because you've reclaimed your power. But
Mhm.
as this has been so good, such an amazing conversation, and I know it's so healing for so many people, right?
Mhm.
And I do want to, as we wrap up, because I feel like we can, I know, we've been talking for a while now, and
Mhm.
I don't want to end without you being able to give honor to that ram in the bush that God had for you, that person in your life, your TC, who was there, who was truly family. There's always God. I believe that God always has a ram in the bush, right? Who will be there for us, whether it's by blood or not. Sometimes it's the family we make on our own. Those people who family should be loving, it should be caring, it should be unconditional, right? Love is unconditional, consequences aren't, right? But we should we should really think about that, about what family is to us. Listeners, what does family mean to you? It should be nurturing. It should also correct you when you're out of pocket in a loving way.
Mhm.
In the book, you talk about TC. God bless her. So she was that for you. Let's close out with you talking to our listeners about that one person who will and gravitating towards that.
Even though everything that went on with my childhood, she's my aunt. She was my biological mom, oldest sister. She protected me as much as she could. She protected me as much as she was allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
People often say, "Oh, well, why she didn't let you go with your daddy, or why she didn't let you go with Penny?" The only thing I can say is because she knew with her, I wasn't gonna continue to be hurt. She didn't want nobody to hurt me. As much as she could protect me from being hurt, she was going to do that. Um, she was a lot of things to a lot of people, but for me, that was my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew she loved me. She loved my children without a shadow of a doubt. No, I don't know all the things that happened behind the scenes, but I know she loved me. And that's the one person that I can say without a shadow of a doubt, and nobody can make me think of feel anything different. She loved me.
And that's sometimes we don't need a whole bunch. We just need one. The
Mm-hmm.
power of one. That she gave you something, she planted something in you where even though all these other toxic people, you had at least one person that you could rely on, one person that planted seeds, even though all these weeds tried to choke that seed of life out of you. Her love for you, I would imagine, was it gave you the foundation of strength that you needed to pull yourself
Yep.
up when you needed
She
to.
was a strong woman, and I know the strength that I have. I know it comes from her, and often I my strength I pull from her when I feel like I need a little bit more of something. I talk to her, and I can hear her say, "My child." When I'm going through something, I can hear her say, "No, no, 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 we ain't doing that." And that has what's kept me. all these years, just hearing her in my head, hearing her voice, and that is where my strength is pulled from.
Oh, that's so amazing. And thank God for.
Amen.
And
Amen.
family members, listeners, find your TC,
Hmm.
right? Who is that one person for you? And cling to that. Let
Yep.
that be the loudest voice that you hear. So, as we close out, Chenelle, again, thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you for writing this book, I Am Safe with Me, Living Through Childhood Trauma. You've given us so many nuggets, so much hope. Your story of overcoming obstacles, being a survivor, not just a survivor, but you're
Mm.
thriving now.
Yep.
So, what is one thing, if our listeners couldn't remember anything else, what is the main thing that you want them to take away from this conversation?
You can love yourself in the places they left you unprotected.
Wow. Whew. Say that one more time.
You can love yourself in the places they left you unprotected. I am safe with me means reclaiming safety internally when the external failed you.
Mm. The power is within you
Yep.
to save yourself.
Yep.
Whew. That is powerful.
Yep.
Well, family, that is our show for today. But listen, I want you to remember this as well. As we always say, just as Chenelle has had to do to get to her place of healing, self care is not an option, it's necessary. And when you learn to love yourself, it really doesn't matter who doesn't. I will have links in for, if you're experiencing domestic violence, if you are experiencing suicidal ideation, or if you need support groups for family, that you need to create a new family. Those will be found in the links, in the link under the show description. But again, self care is not an option, it's necessary. And when you learn to love yourself, it really doesn't matter who doesn't. Thank you for tuning in. Until the next time.